You're listening to Staying in the Game, a Plum Dragon Herbs podcast where we have conversations on achieving greater health and fitness and natural ways to manage pain. I'm your host, Janelle Leatherwood. Joining us today is Tomm Voss, a world champion martial artist, a skilled stunt fighter, actor, fitness expert, and motivational speaker. Tomm will be sharing how he was introduced to martial arts through Bruce Lee's training partner and how he used Qigong to overcome a serious health breakdown caused by overtraining, exhaustion, and chronic pain, and then went on to become a world champion stick fighter. Tomm believes in the power of vision and commitment, and his motto, never give up, is a strong theme in today's interview. Well, welcome, Tomm Voss, to this show.
Thank you very much.
We're happy that you're joining us today.
I'm happy to be joining you as well.
So I was wondering if you can tell me how you got into martial arts fighting.
Well, I got into martial arts about 10 to 12 years ago. I started doing boxing, and I had been doing fitness and bodybuilding for many years. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was introduced way early. When I was about 7, I did Taekwondo for a short while in Denmark, where I was born, and then got into fitness and bodybuilding when I was in my teens. And when I then was in my 20s, I was introduced to boxing, and then kickboxing and Muay Thai, and then Jiu-Jitsu. And then in 2010, 2011, I was introduced to the art of Escrima, or Arnis, or the indigenous name Pakamut, which is Filipino stick fighting, sticks, knives, and empty hand combat, through a student of Don Inosanto, who was Bruce Lee's training partner.
Wow.
Way back when, who helped bring this art to the Western world. And I learned a lot of forms at first. I was just learning all the forms, but not so much application of the art. And after about a year, I was then introduced to my now teacher, Grandmaster Felix Roiles, who is a grandmaster from the Philippines, from Cebu. And when I met him, everything that I had learned in terms of just forms and patterns and so on, it clicked, because he was teaching just mainly application of everything. I started training with him in a group pretty much every week, and he then, throughout the first year, kept asking me to compete, which at the time I didn't feel that I was ready for that. I had been dealing with some health issues. I had a big breakdown of health in about 2009, 2010, just from pushing my body so hard in the fitness industry. And it caused me to have first an autoimmune disease, and then an underfunctioning thyroid due to all the medication that I was given. Western medicine told me that I had to be on a medication every day for the rest of my life, and that there was no cure for what I was dealing with. So that was very tough to hear, because I was dealing with chronic pains and fatigue and depression and everything that goes with that.
So at that point, you were just ready to give up, probably.
I can't say I was ready to give up, but I had heard and learned that the body can heal itself, and I really chose to believe that, and I did my best to find alternative ways. I tried to get off the medication that I was given, and supplement it with herbs and whatever else I could find that was natural. And so I started researching other healing modalities and discovered Qigong.
Which you still are heavily involved with that.
Yes, I am. I met my teacher. His name is Grandmaster Joe. He's now 83 years old, and a grandmaster from China. He's both a practitioner and a Qigong healer. So Qigong is one of 3 ancient healing arts in China, along with herbology and acupuncture. And Qi means your life force, the life force that's in all living things, in nature and all around us, within us. And Gong translates to cultivation. So Qigong means life force cultivation. And I started seeing him once a week. And he then invited me to come to his house on the weekends and practice Qigong. He then took me in as a student. And he said, practice Qigong every day and get a treatment once a week. He said, take half your medication now for the next 2 weeks, and then after that you stop. But then you keep practicing Qigong every day. And I followed his advice, and within 3 months I was able to completely heal this underfunctioning thyroid, and I haven't been on any medication since, and that's now over 6 years.
Wow, that's incredible. So at what point were you at in your recovery when you were being asked by Felix to start competing?
That was about the first year of my recovery, of having started to practice Qigong as well. And I was still dealing with aches and pains at that time, and I couldn't see it possible. I didn't see it possible for me to start competing in this art yet. Mm-hmm. But after the first year of just being dedicated to my practice and having a healthy lifestyle and eating healthy, also organic, I started eating much more plant-based nutrition and adding different herbs and things into my daily nutrition. So after a year, all the pain that I was dealing with, the chronic pain in the knees and everywhere, it vanished. It went away. So after that year, I was then, again, Grandmaster Felix kept asking me to compete over and over again. And then I finally decided, okay, it's time to see where I'm at and what I'm capable of.
That's amazing. So what was the first competition? Do you remember what was it like? Yeah.
So the first competition was the GSBA Western Regionals, so Global Stick and Blade Alliance Western Regionals in California. I competed in three or four different disciplines, and we had done a lot of sparring, so we spar as well when we train. So I was already accustomed to the actual, fighting aspect of it. But going in there and actually compete, like full on competing in competition, was it was pretty amazing because it reawoke my we call my fighting spirit, my like warrior spirit. We all, I think everybody has this flame inside of us. We all have this fire inside of us, and sometimes we don't even feel that it is there. And all it takes is for something to ignite that flame. And that was that competition that did that. It completely it felt like I was being reborn again. Mm-hmm. Being able to just physically being able to use my body in ways that I hadn't been able to in a long time.
Right. And
had fun. I really enjoyed it. I had fun and was blessed to win all the disciplines I entered into.
Oh, that's amazing.
In my division. So so that was the beginning.
Well, and just to look back on all the health problems that you'd had and to have accomplished that must have just felt amazing.
Yes, that's why I say it felt like a rebirth. Not in a religious sense, but in a physical sense as well. And having found something also that I was good at. Like I found something I felt I was good at, and I think that's important.
Yeah,
it's figuring out what we're good at in life, and that then becomes our passion.
And so, where did you take your passion after that first fight?
Well, then then I was, of course, asked if I wanted to compete again. I'm like, yes, I do. I had found out that the World Championship was to be held in the Philippines, in Cebu. Every 4 years, it's held in the Philippines.
Which is where it all began.
Which is the origin of the art, yeah. And I thought, well, what greater way to experience the art and honor my teacher than to compete in the origin of the art, and also learn about the culture and see where my teacher, where Grandmaster Felix was from, where he grew up, and learn about that. So I set the intention on making that happen, and qualified in the nationals. Qualified in the nationals to go and represent Team USA in the World Championship in the Philippines.
And you did awesome. You won that fight in the single sticks fighting championship in Cebu. And that wasn't an easy thing, because at the time just getting there was tough for you. Do you want to talk about the challenges of just getting to the competition?
Right. So, yeah. So leading up to the tournament, or leading up to the World Championship, I of course set the intention to go, but the sport is still it's still growing, and there aren't as many sponsors in the sport. So most of the fighters have to make their own way to get there. To pay their own flight and hotel and expenses and everything that it costs to get there. And so that can be costly, right? To fly all over the place. And but when I decided I wanted to go, I saw it as possible, and I visualized myself standing with my hand raised in the finals. That's the vision that I saw, and that's the vision that I had, and I just started training. We started training every week, several times, and working on our conditioning and techniques and speed and footwork and so on. But about a month or so out, a month and a half, maybe even 2 months out, I was dealing with a lot of challenges in my life. So I'm an actor, and I have a personal training business as well, and work wasn't. I wasn't as busy with work as I would have liked to have been, and that then affected my income as well. And up to about three weeks out, it didn't look like I was going to be able to make it and go. And I had started to let the circumstances of my life get in the way. All the distractions kind of getting away from the main focus, which was to go and compete in the Philippines.
Right.
And I started feeling a little bit demotivated, I'd say. A little less motivated to go, just because I didn't see the possibility. I didn't mean that it wasn't possible. I just couldn't see how. I didn't see how it was possible. But I still kept on training, because I had a teammate who was going as well, and he had already gotten his ticket and was set up to go. So I thought, well, if I can't go, I at least want to make sure that he goes and is as prepared as he possibly can be. So I kept showing up and to training and sparring and just doing what I could to help him as well. And then about 2.5 weeks out, I get a phone call from a friend, and this is after 2 days. I meditate every day, and I had sat in meditation and said, if I'm meant to go, please, help me.
Right.
If I'm really meant to go, I've prepared myself. Just help me. And I kind of let go of it. And then 2 days later, I got a phone call from my friend John, who I hadn't spoken to in several months. And he calls me up. He said, hey, Tom, so how have you been? He had been in Europe, and he said, so did you go to the World Championship yet? He knew I had qualified. I said, no, I haven't been yet. It's in 2 weeks. And I said, right now it doesn't look like I'm going. it doesn't look like it's possible right now. He said, well, have you prepared? Have you been training? I said, yeah, I have. He said, you're going. I'm going to set up a fundraiser for you, and we're going to raise the money for you to go.
Wow.
So overnight, he set up the fundraiser, and within 6 days, through friends and family and people I didn't even know, raised all the funds for me to get my tickets to go. Now within that there was actually a challenge as well, because of the fundraiser it was a GoFundMe page, and they only release funds once every 2 weeks at the time, once every 15 days, which meant I had the money in the account, but I couldn't access it.
Oh no!
So I was like, I got the money, but I can't buy my tickets until the money is available. So as I was just met with obstacle after obstacle, a challenge after challenge, and a friend then said, hey, you know what? I'll get the tickets for you. He bought the tickets for me, and then I, would then pay him back after I had the funds available. So it all just became possible with friends really just helping out for me to go to the Philippines. So 4 days before the tournament, I had my tickets, and I was blessed to fight some of the best fighters in the world, and make it all the way to the finals, where I met the Philippine military champion in the final. And when you say obstacles after obstacles or challenge after challenge, it didn't stop until the very end, because I now knew I had to fight the Philippine military champion on his home turf.
Right, this iconic person.
Yeah, with three judges from the Philippines and an Australian ring supervisor. And looking at it, I go, wow, this does not look like it's going to go my way. But then I thought about, 2 weeks ago, I didn't even see it was possible. I didn't see how I was going to make it to the Philippines. Now I'm here. And now I'm about to fight in the finals. So, anything is possible. And, I had the energy of all the people that have helped me get there, all the training, the coaches, and everybody who had supported me and helped me get there. I felt that I wasn't just, fighting for myself, but with everybody was my team. So
right. So those are the thoughts that are running through your mind as you're standing on the sidelines, getting ready to fight.
Yeah. Yes. And I thought, this might not go my way, but I'm going to give it everything that I have. And if he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to earn it. Those are my thoughts going in. And I just kept holding the vision I had of having my hands raised. And so I went into that fight, and it was the hardest fight I've ever had. I mean, it was the hardest fight I've ever had. And when you're in a fight like that, and you're pushing your body to extremes, and your arms are getting tired, and your body wants to give in, and your mind starts telling you to stop. That's really where everything, all the training and everything sets in, because it's really, not a fight with someone else. It's really a fight with yourself. And it's really about raising above that, because I learned that I had to hold the vision till the very end, no matter what it looks like. I'd have to fight till the very end and not give up. And so that's what I did. I just kept pushing myself, and we fought till the very last second, and it was a super close fight. In the end, there was a lot of commotion, but I knew I had given my all. I just knew I had given everything I had, and no matter what way it was going to go, I knew I at least had done my best. And there was then a lot of commotion. The judges were, they were checking the scores, and then the team from the Philippine military came up and were talking to the judges. And my coach went up, and then they were sent away. And then they called up the ring judges, and there was all this stuff going on.
How many rounds are there?
There are normally there are 3 rounds. But then, if it's really close, it goes to a 4th round, which is then the deciding round. So before in time, there were no limit to the rounds. Actually, my teacher, Grandmaster Felix, when he fought in the World Championship and won, he fought 9 rounds, and they changed the rules after that fight, and turned it into 4 rounds. So 4 was the maximum. So eventually we were then called up, and then my arm was raised, and I just collapsed in joy and bliss and tears, and all these emotions had led up. Everything had led up to that moment, and it was only because of never giving up. Never giving up. That's no right. matter what was thrown at me, no matter what things looked like, I had to keep on going. And on that path also have friends and family who supported me, who kept helping me see, the end result, and not get distracted. So.
Right. Well, that's just amazing how you could handle that pressure so well of being against the top Philippine fighter on his own turf, as you said. And is there anything else that you can remember doing or that you typically do to handle that pressure? You talked about keeping that vision.
Yeah, well, I practiced Qigong before every fight that I have. Qigong is a moving meditation.
Like when you say before, are you talking about minutes before or like earlier that day?
When I arrive to the arena, the place where the fights are taking place, I find a quiet spot, and I meditate, and I just practice Qigong, which is really about just balancing the qi and quieting the mind and getting focused, and then I also, I listen to music as well. That's because music is powerful, right? You can use that. It can give you a lot of energy. So I listen to music as well. Do
you usually listen to calming music or fighting rhythmic music?
No, it would be. I'd probably listen to like epic movie music that really gets me going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Tom, can you compare for me how that last fight in Cebu, Philippines, compared to your more recent one in London?
Yes. Well, I can tell you what was different, and then I can tell you what the similarities are. So, the difference was this time, without a doubt, I knew it was possible to go and win, and also raise the money to do so. Like I knew that it was possible. The first time it was figuring out how, and there wasn't as much certainty as there was this time. I had been invited to fight for the Luxumbourg team in the European Championship in London, and because my family has lived there for 27 years or however many years since 1990. So 28 years, yeah. So I grew up there. I moved there when I was 9 with my family and lived there for 12 years before I moved to the United States. So I had to meet the Luxembourgish team in London, and I said, well, the only way I'd go is if Felix could go with me as well and be in the corner, and also help the team out because of his expertise and within that. He's a 3-time world champion, and also was a trainer for the Philippine national team. So having him in my corner is definitely a huge asset, you know,
Right.
and so I created this game around it. I said, okay, this is the game. We're going to raise the money to go to London, and then we're going to go and win the European Championship, and then spend a week with my family in Luxembourg after that was the goal. And so again, this time I set up a fundraiser and just created little training videos and offered anybody who would help get us there and help us promote the art, that they would then get a one-on-one training, stick fighting training, Qigong, and health and nutrition consultation from me. And again, on the last day of the deadline, actually a day before we had to fly out, we managed to raise 102% of the funds to go. So we flew out and met the team in London, and again fought my way to the finals. But before I did that, the night before, we had just been to the weigh-in. The team said,
"You had just been to the where?"
To the
weigh-in.
Yeah, registration and weigh-in. The Luxembourg team said, "Hey, let's go to a restaurant and have some dinner." And Felix and I were really tired. I mean, I know I was tired from the jet lag. We had just arrived a day earlier, a day or two earlier, and I was still pretty impacted by the jet lag. And I said, I just want to go home and rest, so I'm ready for tomorrow. So and they insisted, no, you got to go. And then Felix started telling me as well, yeah, we should go to this restaurant. So I said, okay. So we go to this restaurant, and in the middle of dinner, my family shows up. They show up at this restaurant in London. I had no idea. So they had somehow, my sisters had somehow organized or orchestrated with the team to meet us there and surprise me. So that was really emotional when they showed up. I'm like, this, now it doesn't even matter whether I win or not. I already feel like I did, for them being there.
That's right.
Having never, and they had never witnessed me fight before, they had only heard about it or seen videos, but they were there, and they then came and spent the whole day and supported the team and myself, and I fought myself all the way to the finals, and now had to meet the British champion, Richard Gordon, in the finals. And again, there were some British referees as well. And but I knew that we had put in the work. I had worked really hard at it. I knew that it was possible. Especially with my family being there, it was like there was no shred of doubt. It was a done deal, and gave it my all. And it was a tough fight. I mean, he's a great fighter, Richard Gordon. He really is. And I was able to disarm him in the second round, and that was pretty much it. He started losing a little bit of his focus after that. And I just kept the pressure on him. I wouldn't give him a time to really get a break in between between exchanges. Yeah, and that was it. I can't say I won, because I really didn't win anything. It was a we effort, because without everybody else contributing, none of all of this would have been possible. So it's really we won.
A team effort.
It was really a team effort. And then Team Luxembourg, we went on all the way to fight in the team fights, and also made it all the way to the finals. And we came second in the finals. We won silver in the overall finals as a team, which was pretty remarkable, because we were probably the smallest team that was there.
Wow.
And
you brought home how many golds and medals?
I brought home 2 gold medals. Well, I think we had in total. I have to look at how many everybody else got. I think there was 14, either 14 or 16 medals in total, if I remember correct. But don't hold me to that.
And your hands are in the air again. You did it.
I did it, and this time with my family present, and that was really a magical thing. On top of that, Richard Gordon, my opponent, was just such a gentleman. And, there's so much camaraderie there and friendship. And that's really what's so great about these tournaments is, we go into the ring to give our best, and fight each other, but it also serves for us to become better. I really believe martial arts is not about hurting each other. It's about becoming better, being the best version of yourself and helping others be that as well. Not only physically, but mentally and emotionally also, because it's also internally. It's not just physical, right? It's a mental game and an emotional game just as much. And and then to be able to share the art and honor my teachers, Grandmaster Felix's heritage and lineage and promote this art. Is really a great honor. And it was an amazing adventure. And then I got to go see my family and spend some quality time with them afterwards. So that was really great.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I like how you talked about the people that made it possible and the friendships and...
Yeah, it's teamwork, with anything in life. Not just with fighting and martial arts. I really... I liken martial arts to life itself, and especially fighting. And when you're in the ring and you're fighting, you don't know what your opponent is going to do. You have no idea what is going to come at you, so you can't really go in with much of a predetermined plan. You can go in with being prepared as possible, so you have all the tools, combinations and whatever else. But what really matters is being fully present in the moment. You have to see, you have to hear, you have to feel. And then what determines the outcome is your ability to respond to whatever comes at you. You have to respond in the moment. That determines the outcome. If you're thinking, you've lost the fight because you don't have time to think. But the way you react is determined by the work you have put in prior. And life is the same way. When something happens to you in life, whatever it is, the outcome or the result is determined upon how you choose to react to what happens. That's it. And you can choose to see everything as a blessing or a curse. And there are many ways you can deal with something. But your ability to deal with whatever comes up is what determines the outcome in life as in fighting.
And you've mentored other people along the same lines of that philosophy. Are you currently involved in any mentoring? I know you've mentored children in schools and done some training there.
Yes, I do. Well, I teach Qigong now as well, and then I work with a company called the Captivating Company, and we teach communication in schools, middle schools to high school, and then I also do some private life coaching for teenagers as well, and what we teach in schools is body language, how to tell a story, how to use your voice, that you have a voice, that you matter. That the most important communication you have and will always have in life is your communication with yourself, because that determines how you also are with others. And as without, so within. And you can use your voice to either empower yourself or build yourself up or break yourself down. And when you understand that, then you have the power to create the life that you want to create. So that's what I practice myself, and
That's
and
incredible.
what I also do my best to pass on.
And kids need that today. Everyone needs that. But kids especially, who are dealing with all kinds of peer pressure from parents and school teachers and
I
everything.
think
And
it's
that's
yeah, I
really,
think it's very important to have these skills, because they're skills for life. A lot of things you learn in school. I mean, there's things I learned in school that I never ever use in my life. But then there's certain life skills that are not taught in schools, right? There are, of course, things you can use, like basic things, or unless you go into a specialized field of some kind. But then there are skills, like life skills, that are not taught in schools, and it's really important that kids learn these skills.
what could you tell somebody who's just really struggling in martial arts right now to get where they need to be? Like, how can they feel like they're making progress
Well,
toward their
it's
goals?
important to have a good teacher. Find a great teacher, and then also it's important to be patient with yourself. I've learned that not to hurry or to rush learning, because when I started, I wanted to learn everything that day and be the best I could be that day. But that's also really what you have to do. Just do the best that you can every time. And it's not a race, it's a marathon, right? My Qigong teacher, Master Joe, always says, just relax. Happy relax. He said, happy relax. Don't hurry. Just learn. Keep showing up, keep learning. And there's a Chinese saying as well, which is don't be afraid of going slow, be afraid of standing still. So
Wow.
so there really are no failures in life. There really aren't. They're just lessons that you can learn from. And anybody who has gotten any kind of success in life, they have failed multiple times to get there. There's a saying as well: a master has failed more times than a beginner has even tried, and
Right.
that's very true. Life is meant to be ups and downs. That's part of it. If you look at an EKG, a heart monitor,
Right.
if it's just a straight line, what does that mean?
That you're dead.
Right. So when there are these dips that go, that shows a heartbeat, it means you're alive. And these ups and downs it's part of it. It's part of what it is to be a human being. So
That's a good way to think of
so
it.
if you're struggling with martial arts and you feel you're not progressing, I'd say, accept where you're at and look at ways that you can learn new things. Find a great teacher. I'm only where I'm at because of the teachers that I have, and have I've set the intention to find these teachers, and they have shown up in my life, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Both Grandmaster Felix, Master Joe, and then also Michael Jai White, who's a close friend of mine and a mentor as well, and a big inspiration for my martial arts. And I get to train with him fairly often, and that's really great. But it wasn't until I set the intention of learning that that my teachers started showing up.
So setting that intention first.
Yes.
And being prepared to learn and be patient with yourself. That's great.
Life will meet you halfway. You set that's the reason I was able to accomplish all these things, is because of intention. It's the power of intention. I set the intention and saw the vision to have something, and I started taking action towards it. And when you do that, life starts to support your intention and starts bringing people or circumstances into your life for you to have what it is you want to accomplish.
What are the other things that you're working on right now in your life?
So I train people. I train fitness, and I teach Qigong, and also help my teacher, Grandmaster Felix, as well with seminars. We actually just shot a digital seminar, and then I also just completed a Qigong video of the first level. Then I work with kids. I coach, life coach. And then I also occasionally work security jobs, executive protection. I've done for many years, and so here and there I get jobs, different jobs working executive protection. And then my childhood passion is and dream, and the reason I came to the United States was because I wanted to do action movies as an actor, and I get to do that. I work on TV and film as well here and there, and I write also. So I just finished writing a movie that I'm actually looking to now develop into a TV series.
That's great. Do you want to tell us what it'll be called?
Yeah, it's called Ulf, which is a Nordic word for wolf. It's called Ulf, a Viking story, and it's a story about a Viking and his men that are exiled from the north, and they have to regroup because they were ambushed by a rivaling Viking tribe. They have to leave the north and regroup in what they call Miklagard, which was Constantinople and now Istanbul, which was a great trading place back in that time. And they then discover through an old man they meet the sea route to China and Asia, and this is their journey leading there. And it's an epic action adventure full of land and sea battles and martial arts, and of course there's a love story in there as well. So if I was to sum it up, it's Braveheart and Gladiator meets Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger, and The Last Samurai.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. That'll be awesome. Hey, before we wrap up, I just wanted to find out a little bit more. You've talked about Qigong and meditation, and could you tell me a little bit more about your training routines and how Plum Dragon products have been involved in some of your training or injury recoveries? Yeah,
absolutely. So I use the Jiao, the different formulas, both the Bruise Juice and the advanced formulas when I train. So both to heal bruises and also to protect joints. I'll put it on my knees and elbows and joints before I train, and use it for the healing of bruises as well, because it is a full contact sport. So you will get bruised. It's unavoidable. But the better you get, the less bruised you get, because you learn to get out of the way and protect yourself. But it does happen. So I use it for that purpose, and it works. I mean, it really works great. So I'm a big fan of it, and I love to talk about it as well, because every martial artist needs an ally to help heal, and these are many different herbs in formulas that have been passed down for generations and generations. It was used in ancient China as well in the temples. I know, practicing Iron Fist Kung Fu and Iron Palm Kung Fu, and it's a great ally for any martial artist, or even if you're not a martial artist, if you're dealing with. I gave some to my parents because my dad was dealing with some arthritis in his hands, and he had a broken foot that he was still having pains in, and his arthritis would go away when he uses it on both on his hand and on his foot. The pain would go away, and he would have more mobility. And my mom uses this as well on her shoulder pretty much daily. So you don't have to be a martial artist. It can help you in different ways.
That's so true. I gave it to my son yesterday when he came home from school and said he fell on his knee. I'm like, you need Bruise Juice right now. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with us. I know you're busy.
My pleasure, and thanks to everybody who's listening.
Oh.
I know that people who will listen have probably found this. I don't believe in coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
The word coincidence in math means to coincide, which means perfect alignment.
Mm.
And so if somebody gets something positive out of what I've shared today, then that's great. Then that's all worth it. And I really appreciate you listening and dedicating yourself to being a better martial artist and a better human being, because the world needs that, especially today with everything that's going on.
It's so true. And thank you so much. You've just got such a generous spirit about you. And I know that our listeners are going to learn a lot from this podcast. And not only things that they can apply to their training, but like you said, to their life ambitions in general. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today. For more training tips from Tomm, be sure to visit us at plumdragonherbs.com, where we will post show notes and helpful tips to staying in the game. And if you like this show, we'd love to hear from you on iTunes. Until next time.